Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America. And you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We have a very important conversation coming to talk about, our absolute, cherished asset here in Erie. We call it the Brig Niagara. And I'm so glad to be able to welcome here into the studio Captain Greg Bailey. He is the captain of the Niagara. Captain Bailey, thank you so much for joining us here. Appreciate you being on.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All righty. So we're a family show. We like the origin stories. Tell us, did you come up here in Erie? Where'd you grow up? And tell us a little bit about your story here.
I was born at Hammett Hospital.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Right on the corner there. I like to think that it was a room that was overlooking the version of Niagara that sat on concrete blocks on State Street. I don't have very clear memories of that day,
Right.
being only moments old. But I was born certainly within walking distance of that Niagara, and through my family have been involved with reenacting on that ship. My dad was a teacher with the Erie School District for his entire career, and in the summers would bring us down to the site where the ship was being built. And that turned into volunteering with him as part of the volunteer sailing crew. And as I got older, I was able to kind of do it on my own. We were always there because it's.
Did you just grow up with a natural curiosity about history or about seafaring and all that?
Not as much as my older brother and my dad in terms of the history. So I kind of tagged along. What really impressed me as a young person stepping into this huge volunteer program. There's a huge local corps of volunteers, and they were led by this group of professional, traditional seafarers who were so obviously good at what they did, they never needed to mention how good, kind of like how a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan, they were just good. You knew by looking at them. And I wanted to be that when I grew up. And on top of everything else, they had long hair and earrings and tattoos and stories of wild nights in the South Pacific and the Caribbean, adventures in the tropics. And
right.
I wanted to experience that, and luckily they took the time to pass on their traditional knowledge onto me in a way that made me want to pursue this as a career, and I did. Wow.
All right. How do you even start? I mean, do you go to college? Do you go to trade school? Do you learn how to be a carpenter or a sailmaker? I mean, where are the grabbing points?
It's called coming up through the hawse. You start as the...
Say that again?
Coming up through the hawse. The hawse pipe is the hole in the very bow of the ship that the anchor cable passes through. So coming up through the hawse means you're coming up from the muddy bottom,
from the bowels of the ship.
Yeah, and you start as a deckhand, and you pull on rope. You're not 100% sure why you're doing it, but you trust the person who's telling you to do it, that you're doing the right thing. You do that enough, you start to figure out how things get put together. You become an ordinary seaman. And then as you gain more skills and other Coast Guard paperwork, you become an able-bodied seaman. And then after that, the natural progression is getting a lower level captain's license and going to be the captain of a big sloop or a schooner like Letty Howard. And then you get other jobs and you learn other things, and you learn sailmaking, you learn traditional rigging, you learn carpentry, and you learn engineering, and you learn celestial navigation. There's all these different facets that go into mastering a craft that is I hope to one day master it myself.
I was gonna say, you come up, from the bottom up, yet there is this whole science to this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I could see where, if someone wanted to have, they were a practical engineer for 40 years, and then they want to jump on a boat. I mean, there would be some things that would be helpful for him,
Yeah, there'd
her,
also be a steep learning curve.
Sure. On the same time, right? Wow.
Because it's not. Nothing that we do on board is really directly applicable to anything in modern life. But the philosophy
for the
is,
landlubbers, right?
Right. The philosophy of seamanship behind it is applicable. The attention to detail and the reduction of variables, which is, you can boil it down to its simplest forms. It's those two things which would serve anyone well in any walk of life. But then when you get into the nuance of just setting up the rig in the ship so that you can set the sails with the masts remaining upright is like tuning a violin.
Wow.
A big, complicated violin with hundreds of strings, and each one needs to be just right. And there's physics that go into it, and there's mathematical equations that you can apply, but knowing how to do it well, you kind of put all that stuff by the wayside, and you kind of know by feel after doing it year after year after year after year, and then operating these rigs.
Explain to my listeners how unique it is to have one of these ships attached to a community. This is not something that they deal with in Charleston, West Virginia, or Atlanta, Georgia, or, Fort Worth, Texas. I mean, this is special, right?
This is very special. This is incredibly unique. Even other communities in the country that have ships attached to them, they are on educational missions, and they are out of town for most of the time, and they're traveling, or that ship is based in that town, but they run vacation stuff. They're for profit, like the Windjammer fleet up in Maine. They're engaged in other work. Niagara is unique that a ship like Niagara even exists anywhere, and then is a training platform on top of that, and also a community gathering point. Everyone in Erie has pretty strong opinions about the Niagara one way or the other, and it's 118 foot tall, objectively cool looking thing that the community can rally around and hold as a symbol. And when it comes to having access to that symbol to be part of the sailing crew, the volunteer program that I hope to have once this big refit is done, anybody and everybody is welcome. The worst case scenario, you show up on a Saturday morning, you waste half a day, and you walk away going, it's not for me. Best case scenario, you find this other life that you can live.
Yeah, you're inspired to make a major life change. Wow. The we got to tip our hat to Governor Bob Casey, because really, they say that he was the significant driver in the 80s to reboot the Niagara from basically what was a curiosity on those concrete pillars that I grew up with in the 70s and early 80s, right? I mean,
yeah, it was Bob Casey that was there at the keel laying and the launching, and at the keel laying I met him. I was 7 years old.
Wow.
Maybe 8 by then. I don't remember the exact date, but very young. And then when the ship was launched in 1988, I met him again as a kid that was 2 years older than that. It was a I remember him. Denise Robinson was a woman who was that name sticks in my head as being very involved. I wish I remembered what her role was in the whole thing, but she was
Robbie Robinson's wife, and he was the original county executive. And, but also very much involved in politics and things like that. Yeah.
And then there was the early Flagship Niagara League that was instrumental in working with them and getting this Niagara that sails built and with full of programming and making the whole thing happen.
Let's talk about the Niagara right now. And, let's talk about, what's wrong with the brig?
What's wrong with the brig? So the ship was launched in 1988, and it's made out of wood. And as soon as you chop a tree down, it stops being a tree and wants to start becoming dirt again. So rot is a thing that we've only been able to slow down through chemical processes and stuff like that.
There's no fiberglass on this hull.
There's no fiberglass. It's southern yellow pine, Douglas fir. There's some mahogany aspects, and then some other tropical hardwoods that are thrown in there, and it's all fastened together with galvanized steel spikes. So it's over 6 years. It's things. Certain areas have deteriorated. With a ship like this, over time, you replace bits and pieces as you move along, but it comes to a certain point where you're not playing catch up anymore. You're kind of losing a little bit of ground, and you can continue operating, but it's time to plan for a big, major refit project. So all the rotten wood will get removed, put back in. Over time, the stem, which is the very front part of the bow, the part that comes up where the bowsprit sticks out the front, has shifted slightly to the point where it needs to be nudged back into place and maybe added some added structural members added anew, so that for the next 40 years she stays in place more. And when I say shifted, it's inch fractions of an inch.
Oh, really? But it's enough to be
but enough
a
that it needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed. We're getting new engines in this big refit. In 1991, when the engines were installed, the EPA standards were different than they are today, and the technology to meet those standards was certainly not.
It was always
today.
Designed to have onboard engines, right? I mean,
the original construction did not. In 1988, she was launched without engines. They had to design the engine room and put the engines in when they figured out that they were going to sail far and wide. And you got to meet schedules, and weather pops up, and getting on and off of docks is a lot easier with having onboard propulsion.
Sure.
So those engines were great, and they're still good. They still work. They're still going to get us out to where the shipyard's going to happen. But the newest engine technology for small diesel engines is what we've put a bid out for, and someone will provide at the shipyard that wins the bid for the big project will install them. And we will have an engine room that a trainee that works for me or a deckhand or something, if they worked in the engine room, they would be familiar with the technology that they might find in a small fishing boat or a small yacht, or some sort of work boat, so that if they're want to seek work elsewhere, they go, yeah, of course I know
It's
that
it's a
engine."
standardized
Yeah.
approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Are the masts okay?
The masts are fine, as far as we can tell, and that's based on
Didn't we replace a mast not that long ago?
the Niagara's masts were. I mean, it was a while ago.
Okay,
ago.
so not in the last 5 years.
Letty Howard got a new foremast or a new mainmast just this past year
Okay.
or 2 years ago.
Okay. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, the masts they were built out of really, really clean long runs of Douglas fir, laminated up with West Systems epoxy and are in really good shape. And there's new technology coming out about non-destructive testing of things like masts. They're figuring out how to use X-ray technology to basically look to the inside and identify where areas might be weak. And then you can do some more invasive testing to figure out where it is. But according to the traditional methods, which is basically, I mean, tapping on it with a hammer and
Right.
it
He's
sounds
listening
solid, it's
for
solid.
it, right?
They're
Do wooden ships like that, are they open to infiltration of parasites like wood bugs and termites and all that kind of thing? Do you have to worry about that kind of stuff?
Niagara doesn't have any sort of evidence of that being an issue. Ships that go in the ocean have to worry about the teredo worms, the ship worms that swim around, and they're parasites, and they bore into the wood and will eventually deteriorate it. And there's other coatings you can put on, or putting copper sheathing on. There's ways around it, but Niagara being in freshwater freshwater does accelerate rot happening. Well, it doesn't accelerate it. It's salt water is better.
Right.
Salt pickles
salt,
things.
Salt is a preservative.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Niagara, there's no evidence of termites or carpenter ants or anything like that. There's nothing that I've seen there. It's all just the natural process of wood in dark, warm, wet places that wants to be dirt again. When
what was the timing of this evaluation of saying, you know what, we need to take Niagara offline and really get the big retrofit? How long have we been talking about this now?
So the first time they started talking about doing a big refit of this scale was in 2017, when they first started to make a plan.
So almost a decade ago.
I guess that was almost a decade.
Yeah,
ago.
9 years ago, 8 years ago. Wow.
And that plan involved a lot of other things, like doing the project in Erie and basically building a shipyard in back of the museum to do that. But that was a whole nother project, a whole nother expense. Logistically, it was difficult, and that would have been preemptive for the condition that the ship's in now. But
so if they would have done it back then, it kind of could have stopped some of the problems that we're dealing with now. You're saying
it would have corrected those that existed then.
Okay.
Rot never stops.
Right, never stops.
The rust never stops. There are things
because that's one of the questions that I'm getting from the callers is, as we talk about bids and going out of town, why can't we do this here in Erie?
One, it's so simply picking the ship up out of the water requires either a machine called a travel lift, which is basically a frame that has some crane mechanisms in it that straps underneath the ship and picks it up. And Niagara is 300. By the time we pick her up out of the water, just over 300 dead weight tons, which is a significant amount of weight. The one that's over where the scallywag is out of the water along the bayfront now, I think is a 50-ton travel lift, and that is, as you're driving by, is a significantly sized thing. So the yard that can handle picking Niagara up out of the water there's very few of them around here. Certainly not in Erie. the other issue is the talent to do it. Like if you drive a Honda, you take your Honda to the Honda dealership, and Honda certified technicians work on your car. You get the best work done. The old wooden sailing ship dealership happens to be in New England.
That makes sense.
There's another one in Washington State and in that area, but
Yeah.
it's a lot farther away.
They're a
to
lot
get
farther
to.
away. Wow. So people that specialize doing this kind of work
Yeah.
are in New England.
And there's
Are we
some
talking about like Cape Cod? Is that or
Mid-Coast
Rhode
Maine?
Island? Or?
Mid-Coast
Oh,
Maine
Maine.
has this fleet of, they're called the Windjammers.
Okay, sure.
And they're historic wooden schooners that do week-long passenger trips in and amongst the islands of Penobscot Bay, and they're maintained beautifully. You know, a couple of them are the two oldest wooden sailing ships in the country.
Okay.
So they're still
This is what
they're
they
still
do.
running every single year from Memorial Day up until as far into October as they'll go.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
You have been called
To do good.
To feed the hungry.
to love with action,
to be a light in the darkness.
To love your neighbor.
To teach wisdom.
To walk humbly.
To love mercy. To care for the least of these.
Will you accept the call?
This is our city.
Our mission.
Visit eriecitymission.org/volunteer to accept the call today.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Captain, let's talk. They talk about the second shipyard. Is that what we're talking about as far as doing the rehaul? Is the second shipyard
in the press? Yeah, this is the what we've been calling the second shipyard. This was always the big capital project. The first shipyard was to get new propellers.
And that's in Cleveland?
That's in Cleveland.
Okay.
That's the closest place that's able to pick us up out of the water.
Right.
That was to get new propellers and a couple of repairs to make it so that the ship can make the roughly 2,000 nautical mile journey from Erie to New England, where this next phase of the project is going to take shape.
So it has the capacity to motor over there to get through the St. Lawrence Seaway and get there to where we're going to do the overhaul. What is the current status of the bid? Because you're still shopping this, I guess. Or
so on Friday, the 14th, the bid closed.
It did. Okay.
And we are currently in the process of looking at all of the responses to that bid, and we hope to make a decision relatively shortly, because
there's probably not a lot of there's not a lot of people that are bidding for this work, right?
It's a small handful of shipyards that specialize in this kind of work.
What's going on with the Niagara this winter? We had a pretty harsh winter, and there's been some online chatter about, has it been protected enough? Has it been covered and all that stuff? Can you explain how the winter was for the Niagara?
The winter was fine. There's nothing in the amount of snow that fell on Niagara's deck did anything to make her any worse or any better than she would have been covered up. The cover, while it does act to protect the inside from the elements, it's the cover that Niagara has is mostly there so that museum tours can continue throughout the winter, and maintenance projects can happen in the winter in a basically you're building a house over top of the ship to facilitate those things. Well before I started, the original cover torn to pieces, blew away, and this cover, before it could be made, the frame needed to be constructed, and we needed to measure on that frame to make this current cover, but we couldn't put the frame up until we got back from shipyard, and the timing of everything was, things are moving at the pace at which state government moves, and it's an adjustment for me. But the flip side of it is we're well funded. Like when I worked with nonprofits, you didn't have any money, but when you had a little bit and you wanted something fixed, you go, "Hey, Tony, fix that thing. Here's the check." Now there's just a little bit longer of a process to. But
is there a winterized? I mean, beyond the ship and the wood and the masts and stuff, you also have electronics and the normal stuff that a ship has. So.
Yeah, you just disconnect that stuff, wipe dielectric grease on the connections, wrap electrical tape around them so they're protected.
So that kind of stuff already happened.
Yeah, running like RV antifreeze through the heads and the domestic systems. I opted to run the engines once every couple of days just to keep things warm and keep things cycled rather than winterizing them completely, because there were a couple of projects that I wanted to tackle that once it's winterized, then you can't turn it on without having to do it all over again.
Some of that was just a lack of understanding of how tough Niagara is in the winter. I mean, it can handle it.
Yeah, she's not a piano. She's she's not
a piano.
There's
that's funny. That's
I mean,
awesome.
She's designed to go and knock around Lake Erie in all sorts of weather and sail, and just because the precipitation is colder doesn't make too much of a difference.
It might have looked pretty rough because you had a partial cover and you had holes in the. It made it look worse than what was the reality on the deck.
Yeah, and the timing there, and when I was a kid, nobody turned up their nose at any amount of snow it seemed.
Right.
And nowadays we're talking about canceling school every single time there's a flurry
we're
in the air.
Snowflakes, part of the pun. All right. So you're looking at the bid, and again, I guess you were just looking for people that had the capacity to do all of the things, right? I mean, you want a turnkey production here,
right? Yeah, we want to take the ship to the yard. They do everything that they do in a year, and when I leave, it's for all intents and purposes almost a brand new ship.
Wow. And so go over again what you would hope the key bullet points that you want the second shipyard to do.
So the big thing is the stem being put back into place, and the structure surrounding it being any rotten wood there being replaced, and then some other structural elements being added in addition to what was already there to hopefully mitigate the reason why the stem shifted in the first place. Then is the complete repowering of the ship. So 2 new engines that, the height of technology for emissions control, 2 new generators that also meet those emission standards, updating the wiring system.
Does it need a full electric rewire?
It doesn't need it, but it's one of those things that's been added to and subtracted from over the years, and it
again, it's a 40-year. It's like your 40-year-old house.
Yeah, you got to turn this switch and this switch and this switch
right.
to turn on one thing.
Yeah.
So having a more streamlined panel and battery charging technology has grown
things like
since then.
Even LED lighting and stuff.
LED lighting is on the list.
Yeah.
So there's redoing that and then getting a whole new suite of electronics, navigational electronics, During the course of the educational program, I stress that we're going to navigate the traditional way. We're going to take bearings across the compass. We're going to, throw the lead line for soundings. We're going to do it the way. But having those electronics, one as backup, and two as a teaching tool that any crew member, once again, can go to a yacht, because it'll be the same exact set of Garmin stuff that they would find on the fanciest yacht.
Well, and I would imagine, too, aren't there requirements from whoever is your regulatory agency to say, yeah, we need you to have this radio on this frequency and this satellite backup, up. I mean, modern seafaring,
Yeah, there's an entire, sections, entire chapters of the Code of Federal Regulations are dedicated to shipping and dedicated to what we do on these ships.
Yeah, if you're heading to the Rock of Gibraltar, if you're heading across the Atlantic, you've got to have all the stuff to communicate. Mm-hmm. Satellite phones, the whole thing.
Yeah. So we'll have that full suite of navigational electronics that anyone could do. However, if all of that stuff goes away, because we've trained in the traditional means, like, I'm going to be able to at least get back to somewhere that looks familiar, if not all the way back to the dock. And
still use a sextant?
With certainty.
Is that a thing?
I when I was working for Ocean Classroom Foundation, it was part of our regular curriculum, celestial navigation. I would do star sights at dawn, sun lines in the morning, local apparent noon, which is when the sun gets the highest it's going to be for the day. That'll give you your latitude. An afternoon sun line, and then evening stars, and that was a day of navigation. And sometimes we would just tape a piece of paper over the GPS readout and go days and days at a time, just navigating with traditional means.
That's amazing. And again, we kind of talked about that there's been work done in the last couple years to get ready for this big overhaul, to get over to the coast now. So let's talk about the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission's plan for Niagara when she's back under sail.
So immediately when she's back, we're supposed to be the crown jewel, the centerpiece for Pennsylvania for the celebrations surrounding America's 250th birthday. Wow. So when we return immediately, it'll be a lot of pomp.
Will
and
you
circumstance
probably go to
and
Philly for that?
No.
You're going to come up, stay here.
We'll be back. We hope to be back in Erie.
Yeah.
By then, we have a hard time talking in absolute. So saying I'm going to be there or we're going to, you're always.
I'm just surprised that the governor
somewhere.
wouldn't want you. That there wouldn't be like a big fleet parade in Philadelphia for America 250.
Well, Philly's going to have their own hoopla going on, and this side of the state needs to be represented.
Sure.
And the governor's governor's fully 100% behind this project and making sure that we are we're able to pull this off as best we can. So after that big celebration with all the pomp and circumstance, we will my hope is to reinvigorate a volunteer program akin to what I stepped into as a 13-year-old kid. There were a couple of folks that I went to high school with. There were young adults, middle-aged adults, older adults, a couple of guys. There were elderly. Lou Hanna was his name. Bad Lou. And he got his first tattoo because of being on the Niagara. Got his ear pierced because of being on the Niagara. And he was probably in his 80s. But it was the kind of situation where on the Saturday work party, the professional crew would be there, and God, it seemed like 100 volunteers. I was a kid at the time, so it was probably only 30 or 40. But still, a whole lot of people coming down, and whatever the work was secondary to the fact that a community of people was getting together, working towards a common goal. And that's what makes this whole thing special. So I want anybody and everybody to know that when we start sailing and maintaining the ship as a regular part of the summer in Erie, that everybody's welcome to come down and volunteer their time. And if it's just for one Saturday morning and they figure out it's not their thing,
Right.
then that's fine.
So you anticipate, day sales and, getting
Yeah.
under sail. I mean, like this thing's going to be moving around.
Yeah, two days a week. We will be in Erie more often than she's been in the recent past. And we will hopefully sail 2 days. This is my plan as of now, but this is, we're talking about late summer 2026, so it's pretty far into the future. The way it was when I was a kid, Sunday and Monday were day sails. Saturday was a work party, and then the crew worked by themselves the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity to use the ship as another, great in this tall ship world. Dan Moreland refers to Niagara as the tall ship laboratory, because of Niagara, the rig being so big and her hull shape, and the fact that we aren't trying to meet a schedule. We just have to be back to the dock by supper time,
right?
Before the streetlights turn on, right? And so we have the opportunity to try things out with the rig. Read old texts of old whaling journals. When they describe a maneuver, we can go and play around with that and figure out what they meant and see if it actually worked, and if it doesn't work, figure out why and what it does. So we can row the ship, we can do anchoring drills, we can do all sorts of things that would have been part of her original regular operation. We can do those things, and we'll still have some outreach. We'll travel around Lake Erie. We won't be gone nearly as much as the ship was in the recent past, but we will still have the opportunity to do some longer sails. And some of those will be with volunteers strictly. Some of them will be the professional crew supplemented with volunteers, and the trainees on board will be local school groups or community organizations, figuring out how to get, my goal is to have every single person that wants to sail on board Niagara to sail on board Niagara, at least for a day.
That's cool. All right. So I'm looking at the calendar here, and that you want to be fully under sail, ready to go July 4th, 2026 in Erie, Pennsylvania. What is that? So you back time that. When do you have to get this ship delivered to the second shipyard?
Right now we're shooting for a late April, early May departure from Erie.
And are they going to have to kind of give you some kind of guarantee that they'll be able to get all this work done in 10 months or whatever?
Yes. The long and short of it, it's a little more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of need to have the project finished.
Some confirmation. Yeah. Wow. I mean, because you know how stuff goes.
But it's also there's a lot of things that we don't know until we start start opening things up.
You open it up.
Because a piece of wood, you can knock on all four sides,
right,
and it sound perfectly. But as soon as you remove one of those sides, and you find out that the complete inside is just totally rotten. You don't know until you start tearing things apart. So there's some unknowns that.
And everybody has workforce issues. I can't imagine at a traditional shipbuilding operation and ship repair operation. It's like, how do you find those experts that can work with wood, work with this stuff? It's gonna be a fascinating project if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. And we plan on having regular updates either back to the museum itself, or we'll figure out how to. We were just talking the other day about how to, what sort of social media platform we'll use to broadcast regular updates from the yard.
Right.
Anytime something interesting has happened, weekly updates on progress, those kinds of things. We're gonna when I was being interviewed for the job, the executive director of the PHMC asked us, "What do you see as the biggest challenge in the job?" I'm like, "Well, right now we're telling people that we're not going to take the ship out of Erie, and the first thing that we're going to do is take the ship out of Erie."
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely returning.
Yeah.
But figuring out how to maintain that presence around here is going to be big. I don't think it'll be challenging, but it'll be a concerted effort.
Can you just for the benefit of my listeners and for me, really, is identify all the different organizations that are involved at the Bayfront? So the Flagship Niagara League, they actually own the Letty, right? Is that correct? Or they're lending the Letty?
They've leased
the
I
Letty.
I believe it's a lease.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Don't quote me on it,
right?
Because even if I were involved, the business side of things is not something that I'm most up on.
But they're kind of in charge
Letty's
of Letty.
owned by the South Street Seaport Museum in New York City, and they have taken over the stewardship. And I know
at the league.
At the league, yeah. And they are just as of last week, I saw one of their crew members post on Facebook. He was hanging the tackle for the quarter lift, which is when the mainsail is not set, it holds up the main boom.
Okay.
So they're moving right along, getting ready for a season, and I think I just saw yesterday, the day before, that they've released their schedule for sailing dates.
Okay.
So
there will be traditional sailing going on.
Yes.
On Presque Isle Bay. This and then
everybody should get a chance to go and I think it's lettyg.org. Google Letty G. Howard and you'll get there.
And then, of course, not only does the Museum Commission own the brig, but they also own the Maritime Museum. And so people can still go and avail themselves. When does it go to summer hours?
That's a good question.
Is it like
I'm
May
not
or something?
Sure. I imagine it's sometime around Memorial Day.
And again, that's in the complex at the Belasco Library there. And so, well, thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
For bringing us up to speed. Again, you understand because you are living this passion.
Yes.
You understand how this community just is one with the Brig of Niagara. This is our heritage. This is our love. And it is special and unique for our community. It's really something else.
And it's that special and unique aspect that got me involved in the first place. And I'm, forever grateful for the life that I've been able to live because of the Niagara. And I want that to continue into the future for the next 13-year-old kid, 30-something years later, coming back as the captain. That would be cool for me.
Captain Greg Bailey of the Brig Niagara, our guest today. Thank you, sir.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing Joel@TalkErie.com.